Jamie Newman, Richard LeCounte. Who are Georgia's most likely first-round players in the 2021 draft? Dean Legge from Dawg Post making you a smarter Georgia fan. I'm going to bring in my friend Matt DeBary. Matt, you've covered Georgia for some time in recruiting. Let's talk about Richard first. Richard's a guy that, Coastal Georgia, it's been a progression for Richard. But I got to tell you, over these last few games and months in 2019, he really started to come on very well.
There's no doubt. Full 2 years starting now. Got a lot of playing time as a freshman that 2017 season. In 2018, he was good, but there were plenty of missed tackles, and there was a lot that he could improve on. And I think he did that last year a lot. But a zone corner guy, he's physical. He's great in run support. He's really taken on a leadership role at Georgia, and I mean, he's a playmaker. He's a ball magnet, and I think that part of him that mattered most, especially this last season, was the turnover ratio. I mean, he picked off a lot of passes, forced fumbles, recovered fumbles. He was always around the ball. He's got those instincts and has since high school. I mean, his junior high school film is outstanding. I mean, the first few minutes are him, making plays and creating turnovers, and that's what he did a lot last year. And I think he's bound for a big senior season. The whole defense is going to be looking at him as a leader. The whole team is probably going to be looking at him as a leader, as a senior, one of Kirby's first top big recruits that he got to jump on board and really start this whole thing.
Yeah. I remember
damn good dog. I mean, there's a lot to like about him.
I remember calling him. I called him right after he committed in December of 2015 to Georgia, and this was what Richard wanted. Like, this was the way in which he saw his career going at Georgia, with them competing for national championships, conference championships. The thing about it is, Matt, that when you start looking at Richard's development, I think the biggest thing is he's not only he's a good player. He's always a good player, high-level guy. But it's the playmaking. It's the game-changing, game-altering, plays. At the Sugar Bowl, J.R. Reed wasn't there. Senior captain was not there. It was Richard LeCounte that said, hey, we're here. This is our group. Let's rally around it and let's go. And they did. And Richard had, I remember, at least one turnover. Did he have two?
I think he might have had two interceptions. One he almost took back, and then one at the end where he just ran out of bounds. Yeah. The game was over. But I think he was one of those guys that gave Tua trouble in the SEC championship game, too. People forget about that because Georgia fans don't want to watch that game over, and how could you? But he made a lot of plays there, and again, just turnover machine, Dean.
He's really, Richard has gone from being sort of an immature player. I don't know about personality, but certainly just a guy that was, it seemed to me like taking too many risks, okay? That's what it felt like to me. To playing and to controlling what he could control. And he really, the last 6 games, I think, of 19, he didn't get his ass burned like he did in the 2019 game against Tennessee. That didn't happen the rest of the year. I mean, that was, and he just played shut down. Then shut down is a relative term. The next guy we're going to talk about as we see a player, and by the way, I think Richard would go later in the first if he goes.
Me too.
If he goes in the first, I mean, if you're a top 50 draft pick, you're really good. Like, you're a heck of a player. But if Richard goes, it's probably at the end of the first round. And this next guy, obviously, Jamie Newman, Matt, we don't. I mean, how can you know what you're getting with these quarterbacks? A year ago, more than just Mel Kiper had Jake Fromm going in the top 10. He went 100. He went in the 5th round. How can we know with Jamie Newman where he will be? But he seems on the trajectory of things to be headed that way. But he's got to play well at Georgia.
Yeah, but he's got to play well in general, and I get it. He's got the skill set. He can run. He loves throwing the deep ball. And he did look good at times at Wake Forest, but when you see people put him in the first round of a mock draft, I mean, the only way you're doing that is if you expect him to just blow up in this Georgia offense.
Completely.
Yeah. But there's nothing that he's done at Wake Forest that leads me to believe he should be a first-round pick, unless he absolutely does blow everyone away at Georgia and really lead them to a championship or just put up a ton of numbers or something like that.
People love him, man. I mean, I'm not saying – I mean, I understand your skepticism, and I'm skeptical too. Why would I not be skeptical? I mean, when you think about what – we don't know with Jamie Newman and the stuff that you watch at Wake, there's times where it's pretty good, and there's times like, well, why did you throw that ball? I would add to that, though, that I say that about Georgia quarterbacks, generally speaking. So
Yeah.
it's not exclusive to Jamie Newman. But
Yeah.
I think, unlike Richard, it's harder to know if Jamie Newman were to go in the top 50 and he gets into the first round, he could go higher just because of the position he plays. It's that simple.
No doubt. I just think there's going to be the expectations for this kid are already blowing up. Top 5
Well,
Heisman odds,
but man,
first
listen,
round pick.
Matt,
I mean,
this is a guy that is going to play quarterback at Georgia. I mean,
yeah.
the expectations for Grayson Lambert were out of control. So
Right.
this is what happens. I'm not saying it's
Yeah.
right, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. Look, I want to focus on 4 other guys that we think have the they have the physical attributes and make plays enough in their past to warrant first round discussion. So Matt, this is going to be quicker, but Jamari Salyer.
Yeah, he's got the size. We've already said there's a reason he was a 5-star prospect. When he's been able to play, he does do pretty well. Without Cade Mays now, without a lot of these guys, he's going to be asked to start, and I think he's going to do well.
He started
At times, yeah. And he did play really well, but a full year of starting on tape, I think a lot of teams are really going to love him, especially with that size and strength. And I still think he's a really, really good player and a guy who he's not going to surprise people because it was a 5-star, but I think he's a plug-and-play guy at Georgia at guard. And with a good year, I could definitely see him maybe thinking about entering the draft. And if he does, there's a lot of teams that like these Georgia offensive linemen that we saw. If Solomon Kinley is a 3rd-round draft pick, if Jamari Salyer plays well, which I expect him to, I don't see any reason why he wouldn't be a first 3-round draft pick next year.
All right, so the one thing that could affect this a little bit to me is, does Broderick Jones, a 5-star kid from Atlanta, does he come in and play left tackle? I mean, I don't think he will, but he could. And, he just, or maybe Tate Rowledge or one of these younger guys. I mean, I kind of doubt. I think Broderick is more ready to play right away than all the other offensive linemen, but we'll just see. And so why I say that is because, Jamari, if he's not playing left tackle, does that make him think I'll stay for another year? I mean, I don't really know that it matters.
Yeah.
Okay, so Monty Rice. I mean, Monty, to me, is probably not a first-round guy, but he certainly could be a top 70 guy, and you never know. I had an NFL person tell me on Sunday that, and we're recording this on a day later, I had an NFL person tell me on Sunday that, it really would depend on his 40 time and how well can he run in the 40. And that's just a thing, Matt. I mean, this guy makes a lot of plays. I've loved him for a long time. But is he Roquan? No. And that's the type of linebacker that goes in the first round.
Well, I do think he's probably going to run faster than a lot of these middle linebackers that will be coming out next year. But he is a sideline-to-sideline guy. He's going to bring a lot of speed to the position, which these NFL defensive coordinators love. He knows how to tackle. Doesn't have ideal, measurables and size, but you don't have to be some giant middle linebacker in the NFL anymore. If you can run and tackle, you'll be fine. Obviously, very productive. Led the team in tackles last year. I think kind of came close to it in 2018. But as productive as it gets, and he's a guy who played beside Roquan. Roquan kind of mentored him a little bit. He told me that at his pro day at Georgia that Monty was a guy to keep an eye out for, and
Roquan was right.
He's going to lead the defense. Yeah, absolutely, he was. So
Roquan's right about a lot of stuff, frankly.
No doubt, no doubt. But again, Monty doesn't look like your first round pick, but he is productive, and I think he will make an NFL roster and have an impact at the next level one day.
All right, so the next guy is Aziz Ojulari. You and I visited him at Marietta. How long ago was that, Matt?
Man,
that was a long time ago.
It was in the spring. It was in the spring of a few years ago. We talked to Harrison Bailey, BJ too.
15 or
but that was
16.
a while ago. Yeah.
But Aziz is a guy that is a pure pass rush guy in the NFL. Probably, I don't know that you'd go with a first round grade for someone like that. Again, top 70-ish, maybe something like that. And if you're top 70, how far away are you from the first round? Most people would say, well, you're a long way in some cases. So I don't suspect Aziz will be that high. I don't know if he will turn pro, Matt, but he can get after the quarterback, and that is of serious value in the NFL.
It might be the biggest thing coaches want in someone out of his position. But is he a 3-down guy? Can you trust him in there to set the edge?
Yeah, I don't know.
But he's got another full year to keep developing. And I've known Aziz for a long time. That's my boy. I saw him at Marietta a good bit when I was living over there, and it wouldn't put it. I wouldn't put it past him, is what I'm trying to say. I mean, I do think he could do it all. We didn't see a ton of it last year because he was just in there mainly to rush the passer, and he did a very good job at it. Again, he's a guy who finished the season stronger. It felt like he got better each game. So I definitely have high expectations for Aziz, and I think he'll put up great numbers next year. And it wouldn't shock me to see him leave. He'd be a redshirt sophomore at the time, so he could. But the kid loves Georgia.
Yeah, he would be he would have left. Let me see now. Wait a second now. Last year was his freshman year.
He was 2018 kid.
Yes, but he did not. His true freshman,
right.
He became a redshirt freshman. He played in that first Sugar Bowl. So that you're right. He would be a redshirt sophomore, which is amazing. And the last guy, and I think people know my love affair about Zamir White. First round, I don't know, right? But again, and I'm sure everyone's tired of hearing me say this, but if you're talking about a guy that the likes of which I saw play in high school, this was before the 2 ACLs, that's a first-round draft pick for sure. The question, Matt, is how far away is Zamir from being that guy? I'll put it to you this way, though. I do think this is going to be Zamir's last year at Georgia, one way or the other. Can he become a first-round draft pick? I don't know. I'm just saying he has the capability to play at that level for sure.
Yeah, well, it's tough for any running back to be picked in the first round anymore. If DeAndre Swift and Nick Chubb can't, I really don't think Zamir can. But I think we saw glimpses of what he could be because he's another guy who I think got better as the year went along and the more carries he got, especially. I mean, we saw it against Baylor, who had a really good defense. That's why they were in the Sugar Bowls because
he ran on them.
Yeah,
he ran on.
Yeah, over 100 yards, a touchdown against a very, very good Baylor defensive front. So. The confidence, I think, is there again. I think he's trusting his knees more. The power is there. I mean, he's breaking tackles, running through guys. He's not necessarily running by them.
He's way more powerful. He's way more powerful than I thought he was in high school. Yeah. I mean, no question.
Yeah. I think with a good year, he will get drafted somewhere. I'm still surprised Brian Harrion didn't get drafted, but, I mean, that's just me.
Not the prototypical size. That's
right.
The issue.
Right. But he's strong. I mean, I'd love him on the Falcons roster, but I'm pulling for Zamir. I hope he can continue to just stay healthy and maybe be the player that we thought he could be. It's going to be really tough, but I think he's come back strong, and I think he had a great Sugar Bowl performance. And they're going to ask him to do a lot next year, I think. I think he'll be RB1, and he'll be given every opportunity. So if he can keep plugging away, keep churning, and staying healthy, I think he'll get picked, but it's going to be tough for any running back moving forward to be picked in the first round if a guy like DeAndre Swift can't.
All right, that's our look at the probable guys that could be drafted in the first round of the 2021 draft in the NFL draft from Georgia. Easy enough for me to say. We want to get you ready for the 2020 football season. If you click this link right here, it will get you ready. It's more of us discussing things, breaking things down, who needs to play well, how does this need to go. Dean Legge, Matt DeBary from Dawg Post, making you a smarter Georgia fan. Thanks for watching.